Welcome back everyone to Rosie Revere and the Raucous Riveters, where Rosie has been set a task to design a machine to help June, one of the old Riveters, to enter a painting competition. Here are some of her thoughts so far. Let's read chapter 9. Brainstorming was Rosie's favourite part of engineering, but so was design, and research and making prototypes, and of course testing. In truth, Rosie could not pick a favourite part of engineering. It was like picking a favourite cheese. How could a person pick one? And why would you want to? Rosie tied up her head scarf. She dumped a pile of engineering treasures on the table next to the broken Snakeaway model number 5, and she got working. After 3 hours, she completed the first model of her new invention, the Paintapalooza number 1. It was funky, it was weird, but Rosie thought it might just work. She set her easel in the yard and put the Paintapalooza on the ground next to it. She grabbed her goggles, of course you always wear safety goggles, and called to Gizmo, who was watching from a tree branch. "Stay out there," Rosie yelled. Gizmo looped the loop and landed on her branch and chirped. "Me too," said Rosie. Rosie put on her goggles and filled the tank with red paint. Then she kicked the switch with her toe. A line of red paint snaked through the clear tube, flowed into the paintbrush. It was working. Rosie stepped up to the easel and she reached out. See the tube? She reached out and snap! The hose broke free. It slashed through the air like an angry cobra. Have you ever seen a hose when it's got water in it? It's really forceful, and then no one's holding it down. It flips everywhere. But remember, this one's got paint going through it. It slashed through the air like an angry cobra, spitting red paint everywhere. Back and forth, up and around. Rosie swiped at the hose but couldn't grab it. Paint was spraying over her dress and on the face and safety goggles. She couldn't see where she was going. Rosie took a step and crack! Her foot broke the leg of the easel. Whoa! Rosie tripped, flipped, and landed on her back with a thud. The easel teetered, then tottered, then fell to the ground. Crash! She lay on the ground beneath the easel and sighed. Rosie knew that failing was, of course, part of engineering. She didn't like it. The Raucous Riveters were counting on her, and she could not let them down. Stop and think, thought Rosie underneath the easel. Rosie thought about what had gone wrong with the test. The loose tube was easy to fix. Rosie felt a little better about that, but she asked another question. This is a more important question. What went right about the test? The paint got through the tube. That was a big deal. She was on the right track there. Rosie smiled as the sun hit her painting goggles, and they glowed like stained glass windows. You know, like in churches where there's windows that colour glass? At least no one saw me, thought Rosie. That was good. And that's when Rosie heard footsteps. "Rosie," said Ada Twist, scientist. Oh, Rosie breathed a sigh of relief. It was Ada and Iggy. "What are you doing?" asked Iggy Peck, architect. "Well, I'm just thinking." "We'll help," said Ada. Ada and Iggy moved the easel and plopped onto the ground next to Rosie. They looked up at the tree and smiled, just like Rosie. They loved thinking about things. They were full of questions. Bernice was right. They really were the questionnaires. That's a cool team name, the Questionnaires. That tree up there needs a tree house, said Iggy, and he thought about how to make one. Why do birds live in trees? Asked Ada. How do birds fly? Can birds fly upside down? Ada thought about trees and birds and flying and so many things. It's nice to have friends, thought Rosie. She was glad that her friends had come over. They understood her. They also understood what it was like to get caught up in a project. Ada Twist was a scientist, Iggy Peck was an architect, and they always helped each other because they had different skills. The three friends lay beneath the tree for a long time. Rosie told them about the Raucous Riveters and the Art-A-Go-Go contest, and they had some good ideas, and it helped Rosie to brainstorm with friends. Rosie heard a rustle in the bushes. She turned around and looked towards Mrs. Lou's yard, but no one was there. I always like a story with a bit of curiosity. I wonder what that rustle was. Okay, time to go back to the drawing board, said Rosie. Ada looked at the broken easel. Time to get a new drawing board, said Ada. The broken one would make a great chalet for Ada's cat, said Iggy, because Iggy's always designing homes and buildings. Iggy was right. Ada's cat would love a triangular-shaped Swiss house called a chalet. As Iggy and Ada carried away the easel, Gizmo flew down from the tree and rested on Rosie's shoulder. Ready for Painter-Palooza 2? asked Rosie. Gizmo chirped. We're going to need a bigger bucket and more plastic tubing. Gizmo chirped again. You're right, said Rosie. We need more tape and lots of tape. Things to get for the Painter-Palooza. Painting gloves, a big bucket, tape, and some plastic tubing, like a hose pipe. Chapter 11. By bedtime, Rosie had a basic model of Painter-Palooza 2, but she had so much more to do. She needed big painting gloves and a big pump June could use without electricity. But Rosie was too tired to keep working. She went to bed, but she couldn't sleep. She was worried. What if she didn't finish on time? What if the contraption squirted the crowd with paint? What if somebody knocked it over? What if? Stop and think, Rosie said out loud. Rosie had a great imagination, and it made her a great engineer. But sometimes her what-ifs got her carried away. You know, we might never do anything if we always said, but what if? What if someone laughed at me? What if it went wrong? Don't think that. Think, what if it goes right? When that happened, Rosie had to remind herself to stop and think differently. It was a trick that Aunt Rose had taught her. It helped her stay on track, and it helped her to feel better. Rosie relaxed and breathed deeply. She probably did this. All the way through, right? The 5-finger breathing. That was another trick to get calm that she knew. Moonlight spilled into her room and lit her bed with a greyish glow. So the moon was so bright that it sort of shone into her room. At last her eyelids grew heavy and Rosie drifted to clip, scrip, snip, scrape. Oh, Rosie jumped out of bed and looked out the window. Hey, noises stopped her. She strained to see in the dark. You ready for the picture? Was that a figure in the shadows in Mrs. Lou's garden? Interesting. We know Mrs. Lou has to be part of this story. Rosie rubbed her eyes and looked again. She only saw the shadows. The pampas grass glowed dimly in the moonlight and swayed in the cool night breeze. Suddenly, a chill passed over Rosie. She climbed back into bed and pulled the covers up to her chin. See pampas grass? It's a type of grass. Rosie shook away the image of the shadowy figure and thought about buckets and pumps and painting. Slowly her eyelids grew heavier and heavier, and then at last Rosie Revere slept.